For a few golden years, he was the best footballer on the planet, and more than that, the happiest. He played the game with a grin so wide it lit up entire stadiums, doing things with a ball that made grown men laugh out loud in disbelief. He made the mighty Real Madrid crowd rise to applaud an opponent. He turned a young boy named Lionel Messi into a believer. Ronaldinho did not just win football matches. He reminded the whole world why we fell in love with the game in the first place. And then, just as quickly as he had risen, it all began to slip away. The form, the focus, and finally his freedom, ending in a prison cell in a foreign country. This is the story of the rise and the fall of the happiest genius football has ever seen. Ronaldo de Assis Moreira was born in 1980 in Porto Alegre, in the south of Brazil, into a poor family in a rough neighborhood. Because there was already a famous Ronaldo, and because he was small, everyone called him Ronaldinho, Little Ronaldo. Football was in his blood. His father, João, was a shipyard worker who had once played the game himself, and his older brother, Roberto, was a promising professional. The family's whole hope rested on Roberto's talent, and when Roberto signed for the local club, they bought a house with a swimming pool. But it was in that pool that tragedy struck. When Ronaldinho was just 8 years old, his father suffered a heart attack and drowned. The joyful boy lost his hero in an instant. Most children would have been broken by such a loss. But football became Ronaldinho's escape, his joy, and his way of honoring his family. He learned the game not in serious academies, but in the chaos of street football, beach football, and futsal, the fast, tight indoor game that forces impossible skill in small spaces. There, he developed the tricks, the flicks, and the outrageous imagination that would define him. And crucially, he learned to play with a smile. For Ronaldinho, football was never a war to be survived. It was a party to be enjoyed. That joy was not weakness. It was his greatest weapon, a fearlessness that let him try things no serious, frightened player ever would. As a teenager, his talent became impossible to hide. There is a famous story of him as a 13-year-old, scoring all 23 goals in a single youth match. He rose through the ranks of the Brazilian club Grêmio, dazzling crowds with skills that seemed to belong in a circus rather than a stadium. The world's biggest clubs began to circle. In 2001, he made his move to Europe, signing for the French club Paris Saint-Germain. In France, the boy from Porto Alegre began to show flashes of pure genius, moments of magic that hinted at what was coming. But it was his next move, to one of the greatest clubs on earth, that would turn Ronaldinho from a talent into a god. In 2003, Ronaldinho signed for FC Barcelona, and what people forget is that, at the time, Barcelona were in trouble. The great club had gone years without a major trophy, drifting and struggling, their fans restless. Into that gloom walked a grinning Brazilian with a ball at his feet, and almost single-handedly he brought the club back to life. His performances were so joyful, so electric, that hope returned to the stadium overnight. He was not just winning games, he was rebuilding a broken giant with a smile. Barcelona fans would later say it simply, before Messi, there was Ronaldinho. He was the one who lit the fire again. What followed was one of the great peaks in football history. Between 2004 and 2006, Ronaldinho was, without question, the finest player on the planet. He won the World Player of the Year award not once, but 2 years in a row. He dragged Barcelona to league titles and, in 2006, to the Champions League, the greatest prize in club football. His game was a blur of impossible tricks, the flip-flap, the no-look passes, the free kicks, the moments of magic that were replayed around the world. He played as if gravity and logic simply did not apply to him, and through all of it, he never stopped smiling. He was the best, and he was having the time of his life. There is one moment that captures it all. In 2005, Barcelona traveled to face their bitter rivals, Real Madrid, at the Santiago Bernabéu, one of the most hostile stadiums in the world for a Barcelona player. That night, Ronaldinho gave a performance so breathtaking, scoring 2 goals of such genius that something almost unheard of happened. The Real Madrid supporters, the enemy, rose to their feet and applauded him. They were watching a rival tear their team apart, and they could not help but honor it. It remains one of the highest compliments ever paid to a footballer. In that moment, Ronaldinho was not a Barcelona player or a Brazilian. He was simply the best in the world, and everyone knew it. And there was one more gift Ronaldinho gave to football, greater than any trophy. At Barcelona, a tiny, shy teenager from Argentina had just arrived in the first team, a boy named Lionel Messi, and it was Ronaldinho, the superstar, who took him under his wing. He welcomed him, encouraged him, and famously helped set up Messi's very first goal for the club. The king was helping to crown his own successor. Ronaldinho did not cling to his throne, he shared it, with the same generosity and joy he brought to everything. In a very real sense, the football world we know today, the world of Messi's greatness, was helped into being by the smiling genius who came before him. But the very thing that made Ronaldinho magical also carried the seeds of his fall. He loved life. He loved the parties, the nights out, the celebration. For a while, his talent was so immense that it did not matter. But football is unforgiving, and as the years passed, the discipline of the world's best athletes began to leave him behind. His fitness faded, his focus wavered, and the magic came less often. By 2008, Barcelona had seen enough and let him go. He moved to AC Milan, and there were still flashes of the old brilliance. But the peak was over. The grin was still there, but the god was slowly becoming mortal again. What followed was a long, slow goodbye. Ronaldinho returned to Brazil, playing for Flamengo and then Atlético Mineiro, where he summoned one final great chapter, leading Atlético to win the Copa Libertadores, South America's greatest prize, in 2013. For a moment, the old joy flickered back to life, but after that, the decline continued. He drifted between clubs, his appearances fewer, his form a shadow of what it had been. In 2018, he quietly retired. The player who had once made the whole world gasp now faded from the pitch. But the strangest and most shocking chapter of his life was still to come. In 2020, the news stunned the football world. Ronaldinho, the smiling icon, the beloved genius, was arrested in Paraguay and thrown into prison, accused of entering the country using a fake passport. For weeks, one of the most famous footballers who had ever lived sat in a jail cell. It was a staggering fall from grace, from the applause of the Bernabéu to the walls of a Paraguayan prison. Even there, the legend of his joy followed him. It was said he won a prison football tournament, and that inmates and guards alike wanted photos with him. Eventually, he was released to house arrest and then freed. But the image of Ronaldinho behind bars was a heartbreaking symbol of just how far the happiest man in football had fallen. And yet ask any football fan about Ronaldinho, and they will not talk about the parties or the decline or the prison. Their faces will light up, and they will talk about the joy, because that is his true legacy. Ronaldinho was proof that football, at its very best, is not just about winning. It is about magic, about imagination, about playing with a smile even after life has broken your heart. He lost his father as a boy and still chose joy. He conquered the world and still chose to share it. He rose higher than almost anyone, and he fell further than most, but for those few golden years he made the entire planet fall in love with a game, all over again. And that is something no prison and no decline can ever take away. This has been The Football Oracle. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe. There are many more still to tell. Thank you for watching.